Here we go.
Hello, it's just us. We decided to do this video. This one was a lot harder to get through for me with my counsel. I'm not even sure. I told her right before we started that I'm not sure what's going to happen with this. I'm not even sure this is complete. It feels incomplete. And considering the topic, I'm not surprised.
We've both been feeling it all day,
yeah,
too.
so we both said, I woke up today and I felt like my equilibrium had been, let's just say, tossed. So I readily admit I'm not in my place of balance.
Yeah, and I've been off today, too.
So I'm just trying to ride it and see what the signs are and what they're telling me. So I did sit with my counsel and see what I could get. I was the bottleneck to these things. So you'll probably understand once we start going through these what the topic is and why it would be. I told her that I think this is probably the most important subject that we as a species have to get some kind of new grip on. So what that means, no one person is going to be able to say. It's going to be we as a species decide where we're going with it.
It affects everything.
Yeah. Did you want to pick
it's going to pull a card for us. I just felt led to do that. So we'll see what. There we go.
The Ancient Ones.
So number one.
Number one card.
Here.
So I have a feeling this definitely comes. The Ancient Ones have much to say on this topic when they feel the need to, because where they're at, they don't have to worry about this, but we do. What was the bottom card?
The moon.
The moon.
Huh. And the moon cycles.
Yep.
Cycles.
Yep. All right. The first one on the list is Singularities Eclipse of Time. Refining it from work-centered to soul-centered. If you had all the time in the world, what would you do with it? Save it, buy it, or spend it? So obviously the topic is time. Time is a construct that we all power. We power it with our own energy. And so all of us believe in it, roughly. So it's got a strong hold on all of us.
What comes for me, too, from that is we tend to, if you think save it, spend it, the currency or cash or whatever issue, resource issue, we often don't look at time in the same way. Like we'll waste our time or give somebody else control of our time too, more readily than we would if it was our cash. So the value of it is treated differently.
Well, that depends. That's by person. I mean, to me, I believe the reason why this came to me from the council, save it, buy it, or spend it, is because it's very much like cash. Cash is another construct that has power over it. We put power into it.
That's true.
You can be a victim if you want, but really what's going on is it was offered up to us and we bought into it and put energy behind it. So it's got a place for it. Now, throughout history of mankind, who knows how many different currencies, but right now we have the set of currencies that are here in our world, with the dollar being the main one that all have been impacted by. So just like time, the dollar has to be taken care of, and to me, the dollar seems a whole lot easier to take care of, relatively speaking, when you compare it to time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this currency has only been around for, really not even 100 years. So, but time has been around for as long as we know. So how do we undo it? What do we do with it?
Yeah, plus we often say money is time, time is money.
Yeah.
So we've looked it all in there. Yeah.
How appropriate. I didn't even think about that, but yeah, that's very appropriate.
Yeah, we say it all. Yeah.
All right. So I'm sure we'll bounce around here. So what took me the longest was this poem that came to me while I was doing it. I kept fighting it, and that's why it took so long, because I'm not a poet. I don't claim to be a poet, but this is what came to me, and I kept pushing it off and going, can I get the next one, please? And so, but finally this is what came through. In time, it will have no meaning, but for now, towards my weening, I'm leaning. Where's it going? Did I get to choose? Leaving me memories I cannot use. The top of the hourglass marks my past, a void of sand that grows too fast. If we could slow the movement of the grain, might that start the end of its reign? So I think there's a lot of meaning in this. It's not about coming up with a solution that ends time. To me, like anything we have to wean ourselves off these things. And no one's going to tell you how to do it. They can tell you how they're doing it, or give you ideas about things they've tried and had some success, or didn't work for them, but it might work for you, kind of thing. But time is enslaving us. I don't see time as bad. I see time like the mirror. It just shows you where your blemishes are, where your weaknesses are. So time, I'm not going to give time more energy, even if it's negative. I want to evaluate my approach to time, my thinking of time. I've already been weaning myself off time. The first one, the reason I think it was entitled Singularities Eclipse of Time, is many people talking about singularities. I think I don't believe in coincidences. I believe there's a reason why we're having these singularities. I think something is going on with time that we are all doing. We are all a feedback loop into time, and if time is acting screwy, it's because something is coming out of us that's causing time to do that.
Yeah, I was also getting something about the pressure that time puts on us comes from how we see the quantity that we have. So if we see the quantity that we have as this one lifetime and certain finite, how finite it is makes that more valuable to us, or more pressure on us. So I don't know if there's something around that that's saying time, some release of time's pressure and power that we give it can be changed when our perspective on who we are, who we truly are, not this physical body with this, limited lifetime, changes. So there's some, it has to do with that we can, how some way we can release it, or that's what's coming through for me now. I don't totally understand it yet, but is that the key?
This poem doesn't talk about doing away with time.
No.
It says in time it will have no meaning. I think all of us to some extent know that beyond this 3D/4D existence, that time doesn't exist like it does here.
Right.
But for now, what are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm leaning towards weaning myself off of time.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? Well, it's evaluating it. Where's time going?
Mm-hmm.
Did I get to choose? I don't feel like I did, but it's got my energy, so I guess it does. I guess I did. But what does it leave in its wake? It leaves my memories,
Mm-hmm.
and I can't really do a whole lot. I can think on them, and it can bring up feelings, but I don't really have any control over them. I can't do anything with them other than feel them. So these are all things I think we have to unravel.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because, behind time, following in the path of time, it's a void.
Mm-hmm.
It's a void. And in that void, are our memories that shows the passage of time. But is time really there? Or are we constructing it with our memories and our energies? And if we removed our need for memories and our energy, because we take it and put it in something else, will that be the start of its end? So that's kind of what I see that poem means. The next one is define time without time to see through its magic. So try to define time without using any time related words or analogies or metaphors or whatnot.
Yeah.
And I think if you can do that, you can start to see through time's magic, because time it's a magic spell on us. We bought into it, so I'm not going to be a victim of it, but I'm going to look at it differently now and start to understand, or start to try to understand where it has its hold on me. Where does it cause stress? At what moments? How do I respond to that stress? How often do I look at the clock?
And how do you feel when you don't have a clock with you?
Yeah. And then also the singularities that occur too, which we said are happening more frequently. So, but to me, this one is saying, first of all, how many people try to define time?
Yeah.
So now, in order to define time, you got to look at it. So in looking at it, you more than likely define it with other uses of time, and it would just become a loop. And it's basically a self-fulfilling loop. So putting the restriction on there that don't define time with itself. And in so doing, you'll start to see through its magic. Yeah. That's holding it in place.
Well, that's interesting. There's several things floating through my head, but none of them are formed.
Yeah. So the next one is, if we could diminish the need for, say, work schedule, any kind of scheduling, and added some telepathy, what would we need of time?
Yeah, we wouldn't need time.
Yeah. So let's say all your needs are met as far as your survival needs. Let's just say your survival, not luxury, but your survival needs. So all your food, all your water, house, some kind of abode, where to sleep, security, all that is all taken care of. You don't have to go to work. So there's nothing that you have to sign up for, like a schedule for working in order to get money to pay for you to live, because we shouldn't be paying to live. So just, this is what if. So we get rid of all that need. So all that's taken care of. And then throw in a dash of telepathy. I think it's already happening right now, but let's just say that it's come online more, to where you sense when someone instead of someone sending you a text to say, hey, I'm coming over, or hey, do you want to go get something to eat, you just feel it. You know when someone's thinking about you, and that something's coming together. Like so and so, a couple of your friends are getting the idea to go out bowling or something like that, just to get together. And you just start to feel it, and you don't need someone to come invite you. You just, that's the beginning of the telepathy. You just know. I mean, some people are already feeling it. They know when someone's getting ready to text them or call them, or they're getting ready to get a message from an email from work or something like that. So that's already happening. So to imagine it's built up where it's occurring regularly. So why would you worry about if you all that was happening, and your need for all the food and water, and you wouldn't need a job?
That feels very good.
Why would we have time?
No, it feels very good. It's like my cells are going.
To me, that's what we're trying to get to.
Yeah.
That is exactly what we're trying to create here in this now.
Yeah.
And it's not going to happen from one person. It's not. It's not going to. It's certainly not going to happen from the people who have been in charge up till now.
Yeah.
There's no motivation for them, because that's just going to take power away from them. This is going to come from us. This is going to be soulless. Think of us as an employee-owned world, okay? And now we're putting together our foundation. And that foundation says we're not going to knee-jerk reaction to anything. But we are going to look at everything we've been confronted with and just be cognizant of it as we are defining where we want to go. And what does that look and feel like? Because that's what it's about. What does it feel like? If it doesn't feel right, then don't put your energy there. And I think that's what's going to feed into the collective consciousness about how time gets adjusted based on what the collective feels. Yeah. So there's going to be there's going to be a lot of people that it takes quite a bit of time to wean themselves off of time. But I already think there's a lot of people who are working their own schedules, doing their own thing, and not so tied. I mean, we both talked about it before. We're both big planners. I mean, I've always scheduled my time. Having been in the Marine Corps, I don't like to be late for anything. So I always made sure that I left if I was on time, I was late.
Yeah, and in fact, I said that all the time.
So now's the time to break that. Yeah. Because that was the system pulling us in and we were allowing the system to pull us in. Now we don't even schedule these videos. I mean, well, when you work it out with someone who's going to be on it, but even then it's very loose. Someone can cancel anytime, all the way up until like right before, which we've had, and we roll with it.
Yeah. Loose. That was one of your words from your word list.
Yep. Yeah. So the thing is if we can start to picture this and start to feel into it, I think my impression is that the collective consciousness will start manifesting that, or we manifest that through collective consciousness. One of us has energy behind it, but many of us has lots of energy behind it. And if I think these things start floating around, I think other people will feel it, and they will start to do their yay or nay And as more people start to yay about kind of diminishing the influence of time, I think we will start seeing more singularities, and let's just say more holes in time.
Yeah, because it's happening sometimes, just sporadically, where it feels like a long period has passed, and you look at the clock, and it's only been a short time, or vice versa. So things are already breaking loose from the context of what we see as time. So it's definitely possible. I mean, it's showing the possibilities of what you can do.
Well, everything's possible. So it's all a matter of our believing in it.
Yeah.
I mean, anything really is possible if enough people put their energy behind it.
Yeah.
It will happen. We just have to want it, for one thing.
Right. Yeah.
We have to be motivated, have an intent behind it. But if we don't stop long enough to evaluate it, and just keep doing what we're doing, then status quo reigns supreme.
Well, and we think about, that other people are requiring these things of us, but even when you take a vacation, oftentimes think about how you spend the time. That you don't have an obligation for the daily things, but still, it's like, when are we having this, and what time are we leaving to do that? And it's so ingrained in us, that yes, this is one of the key freedoms, I think, to break loose from. Would be a key freedom for us.
Well, think about freedom. What would freedom be with time the way it is now? True freedom.
Yeah.
I don't think you would have true freedom. You'd still be a slave to the clock.
Yeah.
So how do we rework that? Remember, we've never had time without someone running it, someone having a narrative behind it. At least in our lifetime, we've had a work schedule. We've always had to go to work. We've always had to meet. Stores are open these hours, but they're not open these hours. Now, granted, we were, without our telepathy fully online, so that kind of pulled us into it. But I think the telepathy is happening now.
Yeah, we might have had to have it till our telepathy came online. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to coordinate things. So, yeah.
I think I don't know if I believe that.
I think the telepathy was there, and we squelched it.
No, I think that, yeah. I mean, I think way back in time, we all were telepathic, and time was one way to unravel that.
I think this keeps looking at me, the ancient ones, and what came to me a while ago was, how did they coordinate across hundreds of miles of travel and time, to do things, if they didn't have the same mechanisms we did. So yeah, I agree with you. I think we had capabilities way back when that we don't have now.
Well, I mean, 26,000 years ago is a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah. The last one is the linear procession of time is beginning to spiral within itself. So the way I see this is that time, the way we look at time now, or I'll talk about myself, the way we look at time now, it's strung out linearly on the line. What I see now is happening is it's starting to loop and then bunch up and then loop. Because if you take linear time and you turn it and stand it up, that means everything occurs all at once, and you can actually start, instead of traveling this way, you can start traveling this way, and time loses its meaning. You can go and do things that appear to be in the past when it's all happening at the same time. So I also think these singularities, as I mentioned from the first one, are the loops. I think we get the signals of these singularities. I don't believe in coincidences. I don't believe that singularities just happen willy-nilly. I think something occurring when a singularity occurs, whether it's you just had a thought about something, and then boom, the next thing you know, it's happening. You just thought about someone texting you, and then they text you. You call it prescience. Well, what is prescience? It's time based. So that to me is it's a loop in time, and that the loops are starting to pile on top of each other. Well, you take a bunch of loops and you pile on top of it. What does it look like? It looks like a spiral. And so that's what I think is starting to happen now. I think we're moving in that direction based on what we want. I think enough of us are sick of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
the pressure and it is pressure. Yeah. It's amazing. We cut ourselves short because of time. We look at time and say, we have this much time to do it. Let's hurry up. Let's slow down. It takes us out of our natural flow constantly. If you look at the clock constantly. Yeah.
Well, you don't even need to look at the clock. We say that we have an internal clock, and we do. We all feel at some point when there's no real deadline, we still feel pressure to get something, to do this under this amount of time, or get these things done. Why?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we got to start looking at. What do I really need to get all those things done by this particular time? Or is I'm not trying to make us feel like we should all get lazy. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about inside us start breaking down time so we can understand it better, and why we put certain restrictions on us. If you understand, you've got, you say, well, my kids are coming home and I've got to have dinner ready and I've got to do this and that. I can understand that, but we have more options than we know. We can actually start slowing down time, and it thereby giving us more time to get things done and not feel the pressure. I think it's the pressure, the stress, that actually takes you out of your, let's just say, deeper level consciousness, where I think in that deeper level consciousness where we're breaking down time. But if that knocks us, if the stress of time knocks us out of that, to me, it's time protecting itself. It's devious the way it works, but it's not. Time is not our enemy. We have just not befriended it properly. It was pushed on us. It had a narrative, or many narratives behind it, that didn't work in our favor. And as I said in the poem, did I get to choose? I don't feel like any of us. I feel like we showed up at someone else's amusement park, and we didn't realize that they were going to have these control mechanisms in place to tell us, how we could have fun and how much and what it would look like and feel like, and all those things. I think that's what's going on, is that we're starting to say, this amusement park isn't all that great. It sounded much better than it actually turned out to be, but we learned a lot. We need to go through it so we can learn, what it felt like when someone else was manifesting for us.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Yeah, I just got the analogy of, it's like when you grow up and you're ready to move out of your parents' home. It's like we're ready to move out on our own now. Have our own power and responsibility for our own.
Well, I mean, if you really think about it, for most of us, we've never moved out. We have never ever moved out completely on our own, and that scares a lot of people. When you really think about it, if you think about going against the system, because if you think of the system as your parents,
right,
that's scary to go outside the system. No need for leaders, you
Mm-hmm.
know, government or whatever, to tell you what to do and when you could do it, and constructing yourself. I mean, then you've got to be creative.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to, basically, it feels like you got to build something from scratch. The good thing is we don't have to build things from scratch. We've got visitors, we've got friends
Mm-hmm.
in very high places, that can help us along if we open the door to them and their energy. They're not going to be in charge. We are.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to be in charge.
No.
They don't want to be in charge. They believe in free will. But the issue right now is we don't have free will.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have true free will, which means out from underneath the hold of someone else or some other entity or some other energy that's acting on you, time being one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Until you can act in your own best interest, you're somebody else's, I don't know, plaything. I mean,
dependent or yeah.
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 So now we're contemplating moving out on our own, and it's scary, and we're trying to decide, okay, how are we going to do this?
Mm-hmm.
And if you try to do it all by yourself, which you can, it's going to be even scarier.
Mm-hmm.
But if we can actually work together, even though your choice is your choice, no one can do it for you. If we can at least come together and not try to get everyone to agree with you and
Mm-hmm.
and agree to other people just because you want to get along,
Right.
I think we can really start kicking around some really good ideas. So until then, we're bucking the system, you know, to try to find out why we feel the way we do.
Mm-hmm.
There's obviously a need, otherwise we would have stayed in the system and
Mm-hmm.
continued the status quo. So, all right, that's all I have.
Awesome. Yeah, time is very interesting. I think we're going to be talking more about this, and yeah.
Well, there's been a lot of movies and whatnot on time, so it'll be interesting how we start how this starts breaking down. I think we're tapping into something that's already happening. You know, I don't believe any idea I have is my own.
Right.
I believe it comes from a central place, and it's like a big, huge library, and you can go check out whatever you want, and then other people can see what you've done, and they're like, "Hey, I want some of that," and they can have the same idea if they want, if we don't get in the way and think their involvement in what I'm doing and they're doing the same thing isn't going to take away from what I'm getting from it. So in fact, it'll help along the way. And as we build confidence in this, then we'll feel the power to go check out our own books from the library.
Yeah. Exactly.
But for now, I mean, I think I think part of the Starseeds missions here collectively is to be a beacon, show the way, at least come up with ideas. And I think it's incumbent on Starseeds to let their creativity flow now and start shining their beacon towards others. Because no matter how much, if you believe you're a starseed, no matter how much pressure you're under, no matter how much you're feeling off, you say ascension symptoms or whatever you want to call them, the other people who are not starseeds, they're probably feeling much more whacked out than we are.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are probably just, they're not making hardly any headway. They're just, the roots are starting to come up and they're starting to get frantic and they don't know what to do or whatever. At least those of us who, do these videos or watch these videos of others and read articles. And we've had time to actually acclimate to all this, and they haven't.
It's a good time to acclimate.
Yep. Well, like I said, try to define time without using time.
It's very difficult. Yeah.
Can't.
Yeah, you can't. So, well, and if anybody wants to, I'm feeling led to say if you'd like to comment below on the video and share your thoughts on it.
I
would
love
welcome
to hear
your thoughts.
People's ideas on time, just whatever hits them. Let's start some discussions. I'm not going to try to convince anyone on my view of time.
No.
But I don't want to be afraid to throw out my ideas of time and the way I look at it. But I will say, when I do it, this is my perspective. And if you feel into it, great. If you don't, hopefully you've got something that'll at least make me go, wow, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, that's part of the co-creation is let's get in dialogue with, about things and share what's coming.
Because I think we're going to be revisiting this topic probably many, many times. So to get some comments and get people posting some stuff, I think this will just feed more energy into it, hopefully, and we can start to unravel it a little bit and gain understanding and make time our friend, and not for it not to be an enemy and cause us to knee jerk in another direction and not really know what we're doing. Just that time is still controlling us by making us go the other way.
Opposite way.
So
excellent. All right, is that it?
Yep, that's it.
All right. Bye.